was two violent times in prison where I had to do something, and if you don't do it, you go insane. So I wasn't about to go insane, so I had to do something. The first incident was I used to work in the kitchen, right? As a linebacker, which means you fill up the trays when they're slopping the shit out of the tray. It's like the tray goes sliding by. And the guy was working on the line, and he just kept spitting everywhere, spitting in the food and everything. I say, hey, motherfucker, these people are eating that out there. You don't want your fucking shit in it. So I had to go through certain channels because the guy was a Mexican. I told, I warned him about it, and then I went to the shot caller of the Mexicans and I told him I got a problem with somebody. Can I kill him? And the guy says, let me look into it. I'll talk to him. So he talked to him, and the guy didn't stop. He was claiming no gang. He was just a stupid Mexican. So I told him it's on. So I braided up my hair and I fucking went to war with this guy, and I beat the hell out of him. He was bigger than I was, but he just didn't have his heart into it. He knew he was in the wrong, and I kept asking him nice to stop it. So I didn't pick up any extra charges in there because I had I had clearance to actually fight this guy. The correctional officer said, I'm going to turn my back. I don't care what you guys do, but I'll call if somebody needs an ambulance. So I kicked the shit out of this guy with state boots on and hurt him really bad. Put him in a fucking infirmary. And that was that incident. The other thing that happened was we were on lockdown, and the shit had jumped off between the Border Brothers and the Raza, which they were fighting over who sells most drugs, who sells most heroin. So one day, they all fought in the yard, and some people got shot and whatever. So we're all on lockdown, and our sweat lodge, which is what Native Americans do, they don't go to church, they go to the sweat lodge and they get in this thing and they do their prayers and they sing their songs and they beat the drum. And this guy got a visit somehow, and there was a Comanche correctional officer in the tower, and the sweat lodge is right in front of the visiting station. So this guy went out there and he took a piss on our grounds. It's sacred grounds, it's all fenced off with barbed wire on top, and it's got a sweat lodge on it. And the guy just pulled his dick out like it's a thing to do and peed on our grounds. So that completely disrespected us. So I had just rolled up in prison, and they said, well, that's for you, Wolf. And I said, all right, no problem. Paid the CO off, and he says, man, I got no problem with it. You're all right in my book. I had to go through the black people again, and I said, man, we got a problem. All of our circle, our car, that's what they call it. If you're in the car, you're in the front seat, back seat, whatever. The Indians have, we had about 13 big brothers in penitentiary. Some of these guys are doing triple life, there's nobody you want to mess with. So they said, just see if we can handle it one-on-one, or we'll go to war over the whole thing. The blacks against, because usually the Samoans and sometimes the Asians will back us up. But other than that, we're on our own. We talked to the blacks, and the blacks said, man, that guy's an asshole. Go ahead, do what you got to do. So I caught him in the kitchen, and he was a lot bigger than I was. So I was afraid, actually. So they have pots. They're cast iron. They're like this. I mean, they're huge. They're making chili, stew, or whatever. So I called the guy back there. I said, hey, bro, come here, check it out. I want to show you something. See, because that Comanche correctional officer, he ratted on him. He was the only one who witnessed it. Because there's no inmates out. Nobody can see what this guy's doing except the COs. So this Comanche, which is another tribe, came up to our circle and said, hey, man, there's this dude, and he gave us his name, his number, everything. He said, that guy pissed on the grounds. So that's how we got the information, and that's how this guy had it fucking coming. So he went back there like an idiot, and I had one of those pans, right? And I said, hey, man, what's that? I just dropped something. I forget what I told him, but I got him to bend over, and I hit him on the head, because I didn't want him to get up, man. I fucking hit him, and he knocked him out, and I just kept hitting him, and I hit him in the arm. I didn't want to kill him. I knocked him out, and I kept hitting his arms and his legs, and I heard a thing break with his arm. So he woke up, in the hospital, and knew who did it. You know, that was the last person they talked to. So, and he couldn't do a thing because the blacks. He went to the blacks and told them, "Hey, man, I got a problem with so and so." They said, "No, you had that coming." So yeah, those were the two incidents of violence in there. I'm not happy about them. I regret them, but if I had to live it all over again, I would have done the same exact thing. I can get dope faster in the penitentiary than I can on the streets. I can know exactly who to see and I know exactly who brings it in. The correctional officers bring it in. They had video cameras with correctional officers betting on the inmates, who was going to win, who was going to die. They would put them in this one section, it's just straight walls, and two people going at it, and they would let them take weapons in, with shanks, metal blades, big ugly steel shit, brass knuckles, chains, whatever. So they were filming that, and it got exposed for their sick enjoyment of raw footage of two people who are lifers, who have nothing left to lose, go at it like Caesar. You know, they would sit up there like, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down. There's a very few minimal officers who actually are cool. They have a good heart, they have a good spirit, they'll cut you some slack, they're just there to do their job, and that's it. They don't want to humiliate you or mentally abuse you, and that's what the majority of these officers do. They're on power trips. They could not become cops, so they become correctional officers. So they get that badge, they get that mace, they get that club, they got the rifle, and basically they can take out all their anger and rage from them never having a girlfriend in high school or getting the shit kicked out of them all their life. They take all that rage and they turn it around, and they just humiliate you, they degrade you, they belittle you. I mean, it's bad enough to be locked up, but if you have that abuse going on mentally, you go to sleep thinking about what he said, and you just wish you could just strangle his neck till his eyeballs pop out. You can't do that, and they know that. They know that. And the minute you try, man, they fucking come rolling in like oranges. They press that button, and there's 40 of those motherfuckers right there on your head. So it's a no-win situation. You have to sit there and you have to take that abuse. You have to take that. You got to suck it up and bite the bullet. You know, whatever it takes. There's what they call a day room, where you can watch TV or play chess or whatever, and that's where all the cells are. So we were in there one day, and we're just watching TV on the benches, and two dudes, just two men, started fighting, you know, over whatever, and they just started beating the hell out of each other. What they shoot in there is mini 14s. It's a little bit smaller than an M16, but it's bigger than a 22 bullet. It's big shells, high velocity. You're surrounded by nothing but concrete and steel, and if you don't actually shoot somebody, that bullet's going to hit something, and it's going to ricochet off the cement into the metal, and it's going to just go bing, 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 bing. So this woman, she was a correctional officer, and she was really new on the job. She didn't know any better, and she saw two men fighting, and she pressed the button, you know, yard down. Everybody got on their butt, sat down, and then basically she fucked up. She just started shooting, and she missed. There was a guy that was already sitting down who was watching TV, not too far away from me. That we were all looking at the fight, you know, and just thinking, this broad, what's she doing with that gun in her hand? Well, she can't be shooting. She can't be shooting in here. She starts busting caps, and she missed. To top it off, the bullet hit the cement, came off a cell door, and went into a dude right in the back of his kidney. Those bullets tumble, and it came out top of his neck, and he wasn't even involved in the fight. He was just sitting there. And put the icing on the cake. They got this thing. Basically, all it is, it's a forklift, but it's made for human beings. So here comes the little guy. You know, he's a medical dude. And what they do is they strap you down on a board, and then they pick you up and drive you out to the infirmary. And they did that to the dude. He was crying and all this other shit. And they're driving him out the door, and outside of the door, there's a ramp. And the guy driving it, instead of going straight down the ramp and then making a right, as soon as he got out the door, he made a right, and the thing flipped over, and it fell on top of the guy. So he ended up dying. For what? Just sitting there doing time. And he was a short timer. He probably had a couple months to go. Well, she had that stupid look on her face, like, oops. And it's, you know, she just fucking shot an innocent man. She couldn't even shoot the guy she was aiming for, which she had no right to shoot at. And his family sued. Both officers got fired. And I'm sure they didn't do any time. They just said, well, you can't be a prison guard. That's all that happens to them. That's how society works. You know, oh, well, it was just a mistake. It was an accident, but you lost your job. Man, I felt so sorry for that guy. And you know what was weird is about a month later, I seen those two dudes that were fighting, and they became friends. And it was probably over they felt bad. I mean, sure, they had their own amount of guilt because they were thinking, fuck, if we wouldn't have been fighting, she wouldn't have been shooting, and he wouldn't have died. We're still alive. We're still going to get out, you know, and however they're going to die is only God knows, but life is so strange like that, man. It's just like a fucking ultimate ironic twist in fate.